TG will be casting the upcoming season of DreamHack. I mean, I assume so, but I don't actually know. Clem needs a second, so, you know, it's a little awkward right now, but we'll just wait. The hell? Alright, now Clem is ready. Oops. Alright. Best of 5 TvT. This time in the finals. In the bottom right, for Cosmos Esports, it is Sol. In the bottom, nope, that's top. Top left is the Red Terran. He is Team Liquid's Clem. So, Clem, you know, very well could have seen how good Sol was playing and expected him in the final. It's been like, yeah, it's a matter of time. But you'd still will, I think, if you know you're about to go face one of the two players. I still think you would have been a little more on the side of humor and just, you know, history, right? Plus, it's who he's been facing in the finals a few times recently, so there's that too. So I do think that even though Clem probably has a lot of respect for Sol, knows that Sol's a good TvTer, was maybe even impressed by his TvT in the last series, I do think that Clem is ultimately a little surprised that he's facing this Terran as opposed to the other one. And that is maybe not a big deal, but it is important to note that the styles are very different. We saw that in Sol versus Here Marine against each other, and I think we would see that if you compared this best of 5 of Clem versus Sol versus last week's best of 5, which was Clem versus Here Marine. I think you'd see a lot of differences. So Clem's gonna have to adapt to that after getting used to facing Here Marine as the final boss. Now he's got to face Sol. And while Sol is coming in here as more of the underdog, Clem has so much recognition, clout attached to his name right now. So much respect for his play and what he's doing. And we are constantly talking about how he's improving as a player as well. Sol's coming in as the underdog. But I don't know if Clem really thinks about that yet. I'm sure Clem has his own hierarchy of who he's better and not against, but I don't know how set in stone it is. Command centers go down for both players at the same time as they both open factory. Much faster reactor for Clem? Nah, no. Sol's just waiting on his. And a little bit of scouting to be done around the map, looking for, I guess, proxies or hidden units, hidden SCVs. Oh yeah, well Clem had no scouting whatsoever, so that makes sense. Yep, all right. So with the ramp being used, it's not like Sol could really do a lot of damage, but I think they both are kind of anticipating that. Sol also didn't do any scouting. With the factory expand, it's not really necessary to do a lot of scouting. And you assume that anything they do to you, you'll be able to defend, with the factory being faster, but you still see a decent amount of SCV scouting. I think what's different is that last series, most of the games had one person doing one Rax expand, another person doing factory expand. And they swapped off, so that was the difference. So a bit of a drop here for Clem. As aggressive as Soul was in the mid-game, I do think that Clem is going to be more aggressive. I think they might actually have somewhat similar styles, but what would be the big difference? I think the decision-making might be similar, maybe is what I'll say. The decision-making might be similar. They might be thinking about constantly being out there and aggressive. Soul is in TvT. Very different in TvP, though, I'll say that, but that's neither here nor there. But the decisions might be kind of similar. But the build orders, as you can see, already a bit different. Good split away, losing a Reaper, but not anything else. And then Clem's going to try and micro his heart out. Difficult to do, though, against a Cyclone, honestly. Wait. Oh, the Cyclone actually broke its lock-on. It broke... Wait. Oh, it wasn't locked onto the medevac anyways. I just totally misread that. Difficult to micro away when the Cyclone actually locks onto that medevac, which is not done so far. So there's a lot of micro coming down here. Huh, I wonder if we get micro Cyclone. Well, tons of dead space and death aura, so that medevac's going to be able to escape the clutches of the Cyclone and go back into the natural, because why not? Tank's not in position. Tank does unsiege to help out, but again, I mean, this time the Cyclone wasn't in range of the medevac, so this is lasting a long time. As far as the actual damage it's doing, it's not that impressive, and, you know, there's always that concern that, ooh, he's going to grab that? Nah, get it. Oh, the Appearance Pictures had to be used, though, so he almost got it. But anyways, the amount of damage actually being done is not that impressive. As long as Clem is also macroing very well at home, then he can do this all the damn day long he wants, even if it's not doing very much. Problem is, usually at some point, something's got to give. Either your macro starts to slip, or your micro starts to slip, and you do start losing out on one place or another. Still a little more on the offender side to be on point. And while Clem had some fancy moves, almost grabbed that tank, the Cyclones were a surprise. Soul is able to adapt as well as possible. Only thing I think could have done better is a quicker lock on the medevac, as it boosted to the main. But that's kind of it. Soul comes out one worker ahead. His later command center, though. Later command center. But he is, again, going for on location. It's so funny. Like, every time, Soul has gone for on location command centers. And it's caught him up a little bit with his opponents who are getting the better economic situation. But I just, like, wonder, like, well, is anyone ever going to low ground on location command center Soul? Like, if they do it to him, isn't he, like, really screwed? Or still screwed? I don't know how to put it. It's just funny. But he is also doing builds that mean he doesn't get a fast third CC, so it makes sense, I guess, that he doesn't feel a need to save it up in his main. And he is going to be the first one to move out. It is seen by Clem's Marine. There's his little corpse there. And Clem is already pretty much in position, just need to move a little bit to the left. Oh my god. Oh my god. That Marine's leg actually flew over here. That was impressive. What was that? Whoa, the graphics are messing up. Anyways, tanks apparently still can siege up on that command center. Very annoying for Clem to deal with. He's going to try to reposition his tanks, and as stim would not be done for either player quite yet, I guess it would be safe to assume he wouldn't be pounced upon. I actually like what Clem's doing. One tank in siege mode, because it's not a lot of units, and then two on siege, so there's no fear of having all of them not only get interference matrix so they don't attack, but all of them can now survive, or most of them can survive. I like that a lot. And now the unsiege, because he's going to move forward. He's the one interference matrix, his Soul's tanks, only two of them, so it's pretty easy. Takes out both without many losses at all. And while Soul runs away with his 3 Ravens still alive and well, he did just lose a decent number of tanks. A decent number of army. Clem now up about 30. Third CC goes back to fully mining. He's going to have faster combat shields and faster 1-1 as he moves across the map, and Soul is in a bit of trouble. He's got a couple of Vikings to help safeguard his left side from, I guess, clever positioning, but I don't think Clem has to do any clever positioning. I think he just literally just run up the ramp. Might have been tempted. Medevac's Not quite healed his Marines. They don't have combat shields, though, so... If he had combat shields, maybe he does jump on top of that tank. Yeah, he's thinking about it. Yeah, he's thinking about it. Yeah. Alright, gonna go tank first. He's like, you know what? I just got so much army. So much army. I'm just gonna move into you. And the tanks fire so slow. Looks like a couple SCVs did go down to auto turret harassment, but then a Raven also went down for Soul, and also Soul's Ravens are not over here helping. But despite taking out a tank for a tank, Clem does not find much more positioning to abuse, just backs away. He doesn't really have to leave yet, though. I mean, it's always scary as the game goes on, as the contain goes on, that Soul could be lifting up a bunch of stuff into his medevacs and going across the map, but we're not quite there yet. Raven's once again going to head into, this time the third. I mean, they're seeing, but just like Clem just moved out with his reinforcements. So a couple more SCVs going to go down. A couple more after that. I mean, so it's actually the only thing that's happening, because Clem still hasn't quite found a way to break up into that high ground. One of the definite benefits of Death Aura. You got TvT and tanks as the comeback maneuver, and then you also got Death Aura with its high ground 3 bases. You can use the chokes and the ramps to really survive even larger deficits than this, because this is not much of a large deficit in army to army, but it is in positioning. It's a big deficit. I like the Liberator a lot to help out here, but unfortunately it is going to be sniped despite a lot of tanks trying to protect it. And that command center is now being bombarded by Clem's tanks. Clem also started up 2-2, whereas Soul is really late to it. In fact, he maybe forgot his armoring? Oh my god, he just didn't start 2-2. This isn't just a Marine drop, it also has a tank involved. Tank on the high ground is very clever, but I think he might still lose the engineering base. Now he's actually going to pick up and go on top of the tank. Maybe even better. Should be cleaned up before it does too much more damage. And ooh, look at this! Soul does get on the map with 2 medevacs. Thought those were the 2 Ravens, but they are 2 medevacs full of Marines. They're going to try and take on this army. 2-2's not done for Clem, and he does have medevacs with them. No, he's still going to win the fight. Medevacs are coming along. This is going to force Clem to, I guess, disengage. Not wanting to overstay his welcome on Soul's side of the map, while also being distracted by the double drop. And Raven still getting in here. Gonna grab a tank and a couple more SCVs on top of the damage the drop did. That was a very, very, very important drop. Clem was not necessarily finding a lot of room to win the game, but, you know, the more chances your opponent has, the more that they're on your side of the map, the scarier it can become if you just make one mistake. Especially as they get 4th and 5th bases up and you can't get your 4th, right? So pretty important that Soul is able to push Clem off of him and be like, stop it, bro, stop it. Actually breathe. But he also just took a really good army fight, apparently. Soul's army supply, 30 above his opponent. As Clem maybe only disengaged because he did start to lose units. Maybe he started losing tanks. Oh shit, I didn't actually pay attention. I think that's what happened, though. I think he had more tanks than this. This is reinforcements. Well, either way, so he lost army and he lost some SCVs. A lot of mining time again. Medevac going into the 3rd base. Auto turret still available around the natural. Oh, it was a Liberator. Double Liberator. Well, this one's not going to do a whole lot. This one does find the 4th base and drop goes into the main. Soul is doing so much here. I really thought this was going to be Clem, and it was Clem for the start of the game, but now it's all about Soul. Soul's mid-game harassment is very obnoxious. It turns into like a swarm of bees. Clem's still overall down 30 supply, but with much faster upgrades. Soul started his +2, but only his +2 attack. He's going to be later to his armor. Clem, though, on the flip side, starts up his +3 armor, but not his attack. That's kind of funny. That is clearly a big army. I'm not sure why Clem boosted into that. To his credit, I don't think he knew Soul was going to move into him, and his tanks do siege up in time to stop Soul from actually going forward. In fact, Soul is the one who then, at the end of the day, ended up over investing into that attack, but right, like, why did he boost his tanks forward? Okay. If Soul had just stayed where he was, I'm not sure there would have been any wiggle room, right? Well, anyways. Clem loses a decent amount, but then Soul loses even more. And now Soul is the one down in army supply after that awkward ending. Thank you, Muku, for the 30-month resub. During this wonderful TvT, Clem is now on 4 bases steadily, 5 to be, I guess, soon. Soul is also slapping down his 5th now that the army on the left side's gone away. Double sensor towers from Soul. Clem might have a weak spot if he continues expanding to the right. But Soul has been playing just defensive. Even after, not the last fight, but the one before that, when he had a supply lead, he didn't actually go anywhere out on the map except with those 2 drops. Could have been a missed opportunity. Now, well, he's down in supply, so it might be a little more difficult to do, but looks like they both have remembered that second upgrade, and Clem just straight up is going to be faster to 3-3, as well as 2. Soul's going to go ahead and invest into the armor, or I guess the future Viking Liberator, and Clem maybe finding an opening finally. It's not a whole lot of units, so it looks like it's not that much of a big deal. Clem, in fact, even just retreating away from that full surround that could happen if he had continued to move forward. Thought he saw an opportunity, wasn't really there. But yeah, so the +1 armor going to help with the Viking battles, which is where this is leading into. Soul and Clem both with multiple starports, but Soul already investing into double armories, so he's getting ship weapons as well, and he's getting Liberator range. And then eventually, after a certain amount of this goes on, we could see the Mass Ravens. It's kind of tricky, though. I think the Mass Raven is great for defeating an opponent who is behind, who is turtling. But if you actually are already on that whole Viking Liberator thing, then going into Ravens can be difficult, as they are so much more expensive. They need tech labs as opposed to reactors. You would just be sending 5 Ravens into what could be like a good 16 Vikings if you tried changing away from Vikings. But it's not, it's never that simple. It's usually a bit more of a process. Some Ravens here, some Vikings there, some Ravens there, some Vikings there. Anyways. And then it becomes, a Raven Viking war, which is always fun. But that's where they're both headed. Neither one of them able to break each other. Not that Soul ever really tried breaking Clem. Clem's the one who's been like, just die, damn it! Don't I have a lead? At some points he did, but couldn't use it to win. 4 command centers being built for Clem, just out in the middle, because why not? It's not just that he's the one pushing into Soul, but he also has spotters out on the map. He knows he's not going to be attacked. Looks like the Viking war not going favorably for the Red Terran. Clem at 9 Vikings to Soul's 13, plus Soul's going to have faster reinforcements as it is on his side of the map. I love the double upgrades, though. I mean, Soul realized where this was going, and he is doing a good job of winning it. Even taking a better fight there because Clem had to snipe that Liberator. So it goes down to 3 Vikings to 13. Okay, all of a sudden back up to 9. All right, that's what happens when you produce 6 Vikings at a time, I guess. Lib range being done is going to be a very good tool for harassment. And Clem is also working on his own lib range. Looks like he has been caught off guard. His tanks were unsieged, and a large amount of Marines for Soul. Looking to capitalize on that. Don't really find it. Both players getting maxed out, but Soul accruing a bit more of that bank. I mean, I don't think... Well, actually, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because, well, no. Okay. I thought the resources lost would be a little bit worse for Clem, because he's stuck on Marines a little bit more. Was trying to actually end the game, but no, it's very, very, very even. So it's just that Clem has built so many more command centers, and now Soul is building more command centers, and, well, they're trying to get more ahead and not just have a big old bank, which makes sense. He's also finally into his own double upgrades, but later than Soul, so it sometimes can be really difficult to talk about upgrades in Vikings, honestly, because they're exact opposite of, like, Marines, for instance. Marines, there's no overkill with Marines, right? No overkill, fast firing, good things for upgrades. The Vikings, very high chance of overkill and slow firing, which, the upgrades, definitely not bad to have. Everyone getting the miscellaneous engineer bay upgrades as well, but oh my good god, how many Vikings is that? That's 20 Vikings, just 14. Soul not building enough Vikings once he had won the air war. I guess maybe surprised by the amount that Clem suddenly had. He's going to lose the Viking war, but however, Clem's going to lose his planetary. He does have so many other command centers to work with, but maybe not for much longer. There's a big drop off to the left side for Soul. That's a couple, or maybe even a triple drop to the left side. Gonna grab 2 command centers. Clem also has his own double drop heading into the natural, but it's a tank and a Liberator both gonna try and stop this from actually entering into the main base. Not quite. Yeah, he's gonna lift up and get in there anyways. But how much damage can that really do? Meanwhile, Clem, how many defenses does he have back at home? It looks like it's going to be enough. This isn't going to be a base trade, but it did get a little bit awkward. Clem is going to be now down in supply. He's down about 20 SCVs. And he's down in the army supply, and he just lost so many of those orbitals that he had built. They were extra, so it's not a super big deal, but he's going to need to actually take that back. You know, this is still a great base to have for mining from the gases, and eventually it's going to be a base he's going to have to leapfrog forward into this base with, right? Like, he's going to need to continue expanding as Seoul is also continuing to expand. In fact, even taking over the right side. I love that the transformation servos upgrade is on the way for Seoul. It is not a very expensive upgrade, and while it doesn't help anything, you know, it doesn't help tanks or liberators, the Vikings going from air to ground could be something that makes the difference in some of these fights. So I do like that. However, it just kind of looks like Clem has died. If Clem had not lost both mining bases at once and his army, I think he does, you know, brush off some of these things. He brushes off 2 out of 3, but not 3 out of 3. And 1 out of 3 wouldn't have been a big deal at all. But he did lose everything at once. He lost left, right, and middle. And Seoul has such a superior army supply. I mean, maybe not superior enough in TvT. And in fact, Seoul is going to continue moving forward off to the right side, realizes that Clem is moving to the middle left, and is like, oh wait, no, I need to catch up to this, and this is actually turning really awkward. Clem finding some success here. Also trying to expand to the left, both of them were. That's really funny. So Clem's gonna maybe start to come back a little bit. Liberator could easily siege up on these SCVs and get a lot of damage done. Now Clem, he's losing the Viking war again, and none of the Vikings are here, so the Liberators can do their job. They're gonna be sniped though. Taking that out of the equation, but so much is over here defensively for Seoul. He just overwhelms Clem's army, and that didn't grab any bases. That didn't grab this one. Oh, well, maybe it will. Maybe it'll burn down. But the Liberator did not siege up on this base, so it didn't do the damage it could have done. Clem's got not much else going on here. He is on 3 bases mining. It's just not enough to afford everything he needs. This might be the last battle. And it's not going to go well for Clem. He's gonna get command center finally. This was repaired, by the way. Okay, or not. Well, doesn't matter. Extra command center anyways. Clem is now down about 30 supply, and he is losing it steadily. Seems like it all happened so quickly, but it did happen. Clem has talked about feeling weak in this matchup, and I'm guessing that these types of situations don't happen often enough to be super practiced with them. They happen, but, you know, I think that Clem's strength, a lot of his games against Marine had so much more determined with, like, the openers and the mid-game, where this really was Clem being like, okay, I kind of got a lead, I'm in a good position, I'm going to try and crack the defense, and then he couldn't, and it went into the always a little bit awkward late-game Viking scenario. Which I say awkward as if it's like really complicated. It's not that it's complicated, it's just that there are so many elements to it, right? There are so many things still happening, even though the Vikings at one point become a priority. You can't just let the Vikings overwhelm you and then let them get Liberators. Clem's pretty dead. That's why I'm not really bothering with castles. But at the same vein, like, you still have to worry about Marine drops. You still have to worry about tank positioning, you know, out of nowhere. Tanks in the high ground and low ground, places you don't expect. And the drops are really what ended up killing Clem. As he got pushed to the right, he also got a big drop to the left, and then had to make a very tough choice of what to do with the drop he had sent out, and it did not get nearly as much. GG. Seoul looking better in that late game. But it was kind of one fell swoop. One thing, and then another, and then another. 30 seconds of Clem's life. Losing that game 1. Oh, Roddy's got to go. This is one of the longer open cups since Soul Cyan went on for so long. Clem's ready. Clem's ready. He said ready. Soul didn't see he said ready. Clem was like, LOL. Just go, man. I don't know. I'm reading into that. I think he's like, you know what? It's just fucking go. You know, I'm gonna whoop your butt next time. Not exactly salty, but it's a little bit like, come on. I want to get into this next game. He does kind of seem like that player. And that might just me be making up this entire, like, narrative that totally does not exist, and he's actually the calmest player ever. But I just feel like Clem's one of those guys who, when he loses a game, he goes immediately into the next game. If he's on a losing streak on the ladder, he thinks to himself, I'll play till I win. And then he plays 15 more games that he loses. And every single time, he's like, nope, fuck it. Another game. Another game. Another game. I feel like he's that type of guy. Anyway, in the bottom right is the blue Terran. He is Soul. In the top left is Submarine. We got the red Terran, Clem. So Clem had a pretty good start. I think he got where he kind of likes being. He was more in control. He was doing a drop, and it wasn't doing a whole lot. It still put him in the driving seat without any repercussions. And he got to a decent mid-game, too. A couple of scuffles that went either direction, right? There's one that went really well for Clem. There's another one that went really well for Soul. But I think what really frustrates Clem is not being able to kill his opponent. Especially, like, we watch him in TvZ, and he'll scan and see that there's only 8 banelings left, and he'll be like, nope, I can hit it right here, right now. It's like a little bit questionable. He only has 16 Marines. He is on creep, but he's like, nah, I think I got this. I'm gonna do it. And he does. And we kind of talked about Clem's weaknesses of TvT in last week. Even though we ended up winning versus Hero Marine, it was in the last game. Very, very close series. We all kind of talked. We had a little discussion in chat about what his weaknesses are. And this is very much nitpicking. But, you know, Clem has also talked about how he thinks TvT is his worst. We kind of concluded that it's just a little bit more in the way the engagements happen in TvT. Seems like he's still kind of getting used to them. Confidence is absolutely the word you would use for Clem's engagements in the other matchups, even if they end up not looking actually that great. Even if they actually go really poorly, which they hardly ever do. They go a little bit poorly, and then he just ends up losing by a slow snowball. I was gonna lose this Reaper. Woo! No, he's not. Anyways, but he looks so confident when he takes those engagements. However, in TvT, it's like his confidence doesn't pay off as much. It's like, you're like, yeah, great, you know, you took that fight, but I don't think you should have. And it just doesn't seem as, I guess, correct as his other matchups. It certainly doesn't seem to snowball as much, and maybe that is the problem. Momentum can stop very, very quickly in TvT if you run into too many tanks. If you know, are up against 3 Ravens, you only have 2. Momentum can stop. But anyways, speaking of momentum, Clem might have lost a Reaper there, but Soul doesn't have much else beyond this Hellion right now. He did go into Reactor, so he didn't have much production on his barracks, and while he did get a second Hellion, he's going to go down his own ramp against 2 Hellions and 2 Reapers. Clem absolutely trying to take advantage of this map, is rallying forward on what is now the second of the shortest maps in the map pool. And Soul is not quite prepared well enough. He should save his command center. If he doesn't, it's kind of game. But he should be able to. Question is, can he also hold the follow-up? Clem has gone for a Medivac, a Cyclone, and a Marauder. Should leave, might be making his way across the map now. Soul pushes this back. He's going to keep one of his Hellions alive. No, if that. Clem's pretty good at micro, I gotta say. I mean, he's kind of known for it. Finally loses his Reaper, but now Marauder comes forward with the Medivac and the Cyclone, and Soul has just kind of given away his Marines at the last second there. Didn't know what he was fighting into. And if he had known that was going to be on the way, maybe he has pulled those Marines back home. Command Center might be low, but it does finish, so no further delay there. And the Cyclone, oh, nope, just kidding, just picks that up. We're going to see who gets the better lock-on. With the Medivac being available, the better lock-on should always go to Clem. Soul's lock-on's not really working out very well. An auto turret gets placed down. Clem picks up, leaves, and goes, okay, I'll just come back later. And that Cyclone is still feeling a little bit vulnerable. Now, to be clear, this Marauder is not with Marauder Slow, which is a build that he's done other games. He gets a couple of Marauders, and he goes for Hellion Marauder. So the Cyclone wasn't in quite as much danger, and Soul had his own way of abusing the Cyclone lock-on, or dodging the Cyclone lock-on. He was using his ramp, I guess, if he had to, because the Medivac wasn't quite giving that vision. I'm not sure about that, but anyways, the lock-on's not actually potent for either player, means that Clem continues to harass, but Soul is fine defending. They both have these important defensive units. Clem, positioning his tank there, is looking for exactly what he just got, a shot in the Cyclone. It's 2 shots from a tank to kill a Cyclone. If he had been less quick to pulling that back, could have been devastating, because the Cyclone's gone. Suddenly the Medivac freely micros, maybe even on top of this tank. And honestly, the Raven could also do that, but Soul has 2 Ravens. Ravens are pretty important. Three Ravens now for Soul. This one coming out now. As Clem continues to have a presence on Soul's side of the map, it's really not devastating. Submarine, the map maker, made sure that this was not going to be devastating, and thank God for whoever the map maker is. I think it was him. Thank God for him. But it does still hit the refinery, and you do need gas as a Terran. Absolutely. Clem gets his 3rd on location. He is putting all the pressure onto Soul, and Soul could do some weird gambit, like get a Medivac right now, 2 Medivacs right now, and go across the map and just doom drop. Like, that could happen, but who would ever do that? That would be the most insane, very high-risk thing to do, with maybe not even that much reward. Right now, Clem is reinforcing because he thinks that he can. He knows that he can. But eventually, in TvT, you stop reinforcing because drops are so potent. Basically using this one Marauder. Auto turrets on the backside is a brilliant maneuver there from Soul, who runs away with all 3 Ravens, I believe. And Soul's 3 tanks are going to live long and healthy lives, it looks like, on that high ground. Okay, well, the Raven did escape, but then they ran into more Vikings, so that's what he did. Okay. Raven was a required loss for the survival of these other 2 Ravens, but they're up in the right, not doing anything. They're not helping defensively, they're not doing any attacks, and Soul is still feeling the pressure of Clem's relentless aggression. Tanks maybe a little too far forward. I don't think they were, but I definitely understand pulling that back, especially because he's lost air control. I mean, it's actually just dangerous in general to have his tank sieged if he doesn't have a scan. In this case, perfect combination of tank positioning and interference matrix. Clem does not have any more, but what he does have is Liberator, and that is very, very bad. That Clem... He only has a 15 army supply lead right now, but in his actual unit composition, it is the scariest type of army supply lead. If Sol had 30 army supply of pure Marines, he might actually be able to break this, you know, with stim and combat shields anyways, which he will not have. But yeah, then you know, get into the concave, maybe the surrounding, whatever, but he doesn't have that. He's only just now finishing stim, and he's going to be just slowly picked apart. Clem getting that controlling start with the drop and the harassment. Didn't seem like it was going to be that bad, but I think what really was the kicker was that it opened up opportunities for his army to get across the map without being stopped or stalled, and to get that Viking superiority, which has led to a Liberator superiority, although that one did just get sniped. Clem has temporarily forgotten combat shields, but his army is so much not about his Marines. Again, the type of army composition we're talking about, tank, Liberator, Viking, is so difficult to break out of, unless you either have an overwhelming amount of Marines or your own Vikings, and Sol had neither. GG. Clem, I think momentum-based player is accurate for Clem, and I think Submarine having such a drastic boost to momentum with how short it is really works out well for Clem. In a game that starts like that as well. Yeah, if you get momentum on those shorter maps, you basically just keep momentum. And although I was talking about TvT and its ability to stop momentum real quick, yeah, Sol didn't do that. Sol could not stop it. He got clamped. Third map's gonna be Romanticide. Is that a word? Is it made up? Is that what they call, like, Romeo and Juliet's suicide? Is it Romanticide? Okay, it's a song by Nightwish. And it's a song by Combo Audio, so no, it's not a word. Maybe the map maker was a Nightwish fan. Clem is instantly ready. And Sol, not so much. He hasn't said anything. I'm so proud of all the players instinctively making WCS Gameheart lobbies. This is really what makes me feel like we're in the future. Because 4 years ago, they didn't even know what that meant. What really helped was that Gameheart made it so that skins didn't appear. So then it became actually beneficial for them to know. It also became a requirement because of the skin issue. So if you didn't host with Gameheart for, I think like the qualifiers, for instance, like DreamHack qualifiers, you actually like technically are supposed to do it. They got rid of the whole, Oh, they were using a scan. I didn't recognize Tumbling Claws thing. That did happen. And Soul is finally ready. All tied up in the top left is the blue Terran. We have Soul, and is the red Terran. It is Clem. Now this is an amusing Reddit thread. Every Zerg game is a birthday party. My 6-year-old sister pointed this out since Zergians are actually born instead of warping in. It's graduation day for Terran as well. That's a good point. It is, yeah. Every Zerg is born and dies on their birthday as well, so that's kind of sad. And then every Terran unit is, you know, trained and then released out into the wild, so it's their graduation. For Protosses, I don't even know what happens. They probably just make like a call out, like a alarm bell. That's like, 17 zealots, come to the portal. And then they just probably run up to it. Maybe there's a line, maybe there's like a queue system, I don't know. But has anyone ever looked into that? Has there been any actual canon explanation as to how Protoss units set up to get warped into battle?
Paused.
Everdream is also a Nightwish song. Yeah, fair. Everdream's not a word. That's a fair point. But it did seem very obvious that it was just two words connected. And it sounds like it was the name of like a brand of like soap or something. Romanticide seems like it's trying to be a word, but it's not. Well, to be fair, while most people can tell the difference of Erosion and Planetary Fortress, the Brood War skin Planetary is actually stupidly similar to the regular Command Center. I could not believe that the first time I saw it. I was like, oh my god, there is a turret. But it blends in, Jesus.
Game resumed.
Technically, in any Zerg matchup, what we're doing is murdering newborns. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So we got 1 Rex expand for Soul versus Clem's Factory. I'm not sure if Lightshade is going to be involved in this best of 5, but that is also as short of a map as Submarine and rush distance. I don't like the terrain is very, very different though, so I do think it would be it'd be a different scenario than a Submarine game. But anyways, in rush distance, it could be where Clem also finds success. As he's looking for that little bit of a lead once again with the first Reaper. He brings his SCV to soak up even just one shot, makes him win. And look at what Soul is doing. Soul is going for one of the greediest things he could do. Well, I mean, I say it as if it's like, well, yep, alright. Okay. So, it is one of the greediest things you can do. To go for only 1 Reaper instead of 2 Reapers is actually really greedy. It's such a lame sort of greedy though, right? Because there are so many different games where you go for 1 Reaper and you still get like a 1 Reaper and 1 Hellion. The Hellion's on its way out from the factory. And it's fine. You eventually deal with whatever comes your way. But occasionally, even amongst the pros, there are those games where you lose the Reaper war and that's it. You have to wait way too long to get a Hellion out or a couple of Marines. And while our ladder games, we probably don't mind losing 4 or 5 SCVs because we're all bad anyways. In those games, Soul basically sees the future. He sees his factory SCV being sniped, so 2 SCVs down, command center also being delayed. Probably a good 3 more SCVs die before something pops, unless his control is really good. That's too much damage to take, but it's funny. TvT can be funny. TvT is so fun. Protoss are on call, yeah. Very quickly, we are now on potentially the last map. In the bottom left of Oxide, it is the blue Terran Soul. In the top right, we have the red Terran Clem. Very quickly, with a 2-1 lead. Last game, catching Soul, not just at the wrong moment, like that is the moment you would use your Reaper and SCV, that, you know, that's normal. It's just that it caught Soul, I don't even want to say off guard. It was a mistake. Can't even say it caught him off guard. It just was a mistake. Soul knows the importance of not losing that first Reaper with the build he's doing. I mean, it's important to not lose it even if you are getting a second Reaper, but it's really important not to lose the first one. And usually that means you're not out on the map with it. Usually it means it's on the ramp waiting. Usually it means it's near the cliff waiting, so it can immediately hop up, which may be one of the problems. If it didn't immediately hop up, it took more damage, but yeah. So you just kind of let that game go, which is really sucky. That's a non-game. That's a nothing. But we go into game 4, and Soul has a as good a chance as ever to still win this one. He's going for his own factory expand. He's not going to let that last game happen again. Romanticide, I guess, seemed like a very, seemed like a decently large map for him, probably, to try that. Plus, it was just maybe one of those, like, I think I can get away with it. He couldn't. Romanticide actually isn't that large. All of the new maps are shorter than Death Aura and Pillars. Submarine being the only odd man out, because Submarine's silly. And when I say shorter, I mean by, like, I think, like, 2 seconds plus. Which usually does not matter. Usually it really doesn't. It's not usually the difference of having the centrifugal hooks or not. Or having the banelings formed or not, or whatever. But in TvT, with Reapers and Reactors and Hellions, yes it is. It actually is a pretty big difference. Not to over-explain. Not to over-explain and get hung up on that last game because it was so short. But it is probably one of the reasons Soul has gone back to factory expanding. So Clem, he actually goes forward as well, but it's a bit faster because he did... Maybe the gas timings are different. I think maybe the gas timings are different. So faster command center for Clem. Faster. Excuse me, starport for him as well. Talking about little bits here and there. Little bits. Soul has 1 more SCV, you see. There we go. Here's the difference. I don't know, we don't mind, so I do expect Clem to get a medevac. He likes being in control. And, again, that could be a real downside if you aren't macroing back at home. Which, you know, is a lot of what Clem's growing pains were 2 years ago, 3 years ago when he first kind of came onto the scene. He was a good Terran, but as fancy as he was too fancy. He was too overzealous in his micro, and his macro wouldn't quite catch up to the rest of the guys. His decision-making was very brash. He wasn't making the right choices. He wasn't calming down and just being like, wait a second, hold on. All things he's improved on. Soul has never really had such a, you know, like, one glaring problem. He's always been very solid in many different styles and many different aspects of being professional. Just his push to actually break through this, like, ceiling that he seems to be at, where he's not considered one of the top Terrans, it seems like it's really a very slow process. He's not breaking through a window, glass. He's breaking through a concrete wall. But it's happening slowly. And he's here in the finals. Even if he is on his last life. Medevac's gonna boost into the natural, maybe hoping that Soul is in the main. Can sometimes happen. A little bit of a swap-a-roo, switcheroo. One of mine's gonna be able to hit maybe an SEV. Reaper's gonna sacrifice its life. Medevac goes into the main, which Soul should be able to handle. And Medevac healing really does make it complicated, though. You think, oh, maybe I have enough. You don't have enough. And in this case, doesn't have enough. And Clem's gonna do the micro thing. Oh my god. Okay. Clem would love to win with this. Not quite gonna happen, though. I do love the micro. I do love it. And he's still got a medevac. He's like, literally just like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. Like, my god. Like, I'm not touching you. Oh man, I'm not touching you. I get a tank? Am I gonna get your tank? What you gonna do about it? You can't. Oh wait, you can. No wait, you can't. Banshee actually. Surprise Banshee, not gonna grab 16 kills this time. Does grab 4, but Clem got his tank. Clem got his tank and is still microing individual Marine and Reaper. This kid though. This kid! Jeez! Is he still doing it? He's still doing it. I thought the medevac went home. God darn it. He is still using this medevac. I didn't find anything that time. But maybe the right side will. He's gonna go for the tank. He's gonna get the tank. He's got a second tank, and that fucking medevac's gonna survive, isn't it? Of course it is. Clem's getting a command center on location. Soul is getting his own command center. Pretty good time. I think he was like a little late to it because he was busy, but yeah, he's on time. But it is one of the few circumstances where it is Soul going for the high ground command center instead of his opponent. And, well, what do you have? We have Clem with a pretty substantial army supply lead. Soul is going to be faster to the barracks and faster to stim. This does mean that Clem is investing into an actual push. He's getting into some Vikings. He's going to control Soul and delay his third CC certainly as much as possible, if not win the game, if he can do it. He might. He did it last game, or, whoops, sorry, he did it on Submarine. Last game was too short to remember it as a game. But yeah, he's going for that Viking Raven tank push with a decent amount of Marines, because he built it for the medevac, which ended up living, got repaired. It's going to be scary for Soul. Either he dies, you know, that sucks, or he doesn't get his third down location for a long time, which would then still lead to him dying. Soul is going to get his own Raven-Viking combination and just hope that fast reinforcements hold on. It looks like Clem's not going to go for the push. I'm pretty sure you go for the push, though. I'm not certain. Is there any reason not to go for the push? Marine sees the intention of taking the third, so he's going to go right towards it. Auto turrets aplenty going to be slapped down, and is this where Soul dies? It might just be too many auto turrets. The Vikings might have taken out the Ravens, but in doing so, they have actually lost the Viking war. Soul's not going to tap out immediately because it's his last game, but I do feel like Clem has just, he went kind of Super Saiyan, honestly. The first game he lost, he was like, well, fuck that. Got a very good second game, easy peasy third game, and this fourth one's actually not that difficult either. GG. Clem was like, no, that wasn't what I could do. Watch what I could do. And then he just microed every little unit in the early game. This kid can be absolutely insane. He wins out in the TvT.